Hello and welcome back to our mini course on large language models. In this lesson, we are going to be learning all about how you can fine-tune GPT-3 to create your own custom model. So fine-tuning is a different technique than prompt design, and it's also very valuable. So fine-tuning lets you make your own custom model, which can have some benefits, such as the ability to train on more examples than can fit into a prompt. A prompt has a maximum of 4,000 tokens. So, you can't fit so much in there. If a prompt is too long, you just can't use it. Fine-tuning, basically you feed a lot of prompt and completion pairs into GPT-3 at once. You train it up on all that data. And then with each subsequent time where you actually ask GPT to give you a completion, you only need to send a small prompt in there. You don't need to give it all the preamble that you might have when you're doing prompt design. And because this is a shorter prompt, it's going to come back faster as well. So if you're making a big application, you can get better performance, so lower latency if you use a fine-tuned model. So to illustrate the difference between fine-tuning and prompt design, let's look at this example. This is a GPT-3 function where you want to enable a user to enter in some English that might be not correct grammar. I guess, I should say incorrect grammar when I'm using this example. And then GPT-3 will return that same phrase, that same meaning, but with correct grammar. So in this example, we're using prompt design to tell GPT-3, give it some context that it's an English teacher. The learner is going to give you a phrase that might be incorrect, correct them by giving the correct phrase, and we're going to give an example or two to let it know how it should proceed. And now we can hit it with this prompt, which includes all the preamble as well as what the user says. And it should come back with something like, "Why wasn't I invited?" which is great. Now we can accomplish the same thing with fine-tuning if we have the data for it. So if you were going to do this same example with fine-tuning, you would need a large data set. GPT or OpenAI recommends, no fewer than 300, 400 examples to really get the benefits of fine-tuning, where you give it, hundreds or thousands of examples of prompt and completion for what you want. So these would be short pairs of what someone would be entering in as the input and what GPT-3 should give as the output, prompt completion pairs. So we would have a few here. You can see these examples, and there's an ellipsis. So this would go on, and you'd give it hundreds of pairs. You'd train it. GPT-3 would give you your own custom model. So instead of querying DaVinci or Ada or one of the pre-built models, you would query your custom fine-tuned model directly. And when you give it a prompt, all you would say is the phrase, which might have incorrect grammar, and GPT-3 would give you back the corrected phrase. So it does take a lot more data than just using prompt design. So prompt design is super great if you want to get started quickly and you just want to see what GPT-3 can do out of the box. But with fine-tuning, you can be a lot more specific if you have a lot of data. For instance, you might have seen some examples of GPT-3 where they'll say, hey, I made a GPT-3 model, I made an AI that can speak just like former President Trump, or that can talk just like Yoda from Star Wars. And so what they did is they probably fine-tuned it by giving it a lot of examples from that person or that character so that GPT-3 can kind of internalize the specifics around that. So in the next video, we're actually going to jump in and fine-tune our own model, and we're going to make a little relationship advice tool. So I'm sure that if we use prompt design, we could create a tool where we tell GPT-3, our relationship story, and it would tell us what to do. You should break up with them, you need to go to counseling, or you need to, rub their feet once in a while and make them dinner. But we're actually going to be training our own custom model of GPT-3 based on the Reddit subreddit relationship_advice. this subreddit's a little bit famous for having some level of toxicity, and they're always telling people to break up with their significant others of years because they, raised their voice once when they were stressed. So it has its own tone of voice that I'm hoping we can capture by grabbing a bunch of data from the Reddit API and training it up. I'll be taking you through lightly the process of how I scraped this data, and I'll be providing it to you so you'll have the idea, and hopefully down the road you can have all the tools necessary to do your own fine-tuning. So stay with me and we'll see how to fine-tune our own custom GPT-3 model in the next video. See you there.